everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Points of Articulation. My name's Dave, and today we're looking at the #1 most requested ship on my channel, the Star Wars Armada Imperial class Star Destroyer expansion pack. Yeah, the Imperial Star Destroyer made its first on-screen appearance in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, but there have been various other variants of this ship. We had some in Rogue One, A New Hope, other versions in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and then also a different variant, if you will, for Star Wars Rebels with a longer neck connecting the bridge section to the main body. Now, this particular version of the ship, I believe from looking at photos, is from The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So when dealing with the ship's length, it is a tad over 8 inches long, which is amazing. And it is the biggest ship in the Star Wars Armada collection. Now, besides this great looking ship, we do get 2 ship cards, 18 upgrade cards, and a lot of tokens and dials. So we do have a lot to cover, so let's get right to the review. And now for the token and dial roll call. 3 command dials, 1 speed dial, 5 defensive tokens, 4 command tokens, 3 victory tokens, 3 ship ID tokens, 3 objective tokens, and finally the box says 2, but I have 3 squadron ID tokens. So that does it for the tokens, so let's take a look at the cards. Alright, as always for the upgrade cards, if you would like to read them, please pause the video. I'll just go through the names and go through the cards, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce something. As always, I'm not good with it. First up, we have Darth Vader, Captain Nita, Wind Commander, 2 engineering captains, 2 tactical experts, support officer, ruthless strategist, redundant shields, Phylon Q7 tractor beams, boosted comms, slaved turrets, heavy turbo laser turrets, NK7 ion cannons, ship title The Avenger, ship title Devastator, and finally ship title Relentless. So pretty cool. So now let's take a look at the ship cards. Alright, looking at the ship cards, I thought I'll do something different and lay them both out. First, we'll look at the Imperial 1 class Star Destroyer. Very cool ship, 11 hull, blue and black anti-squadron die, your defense right there, 3 speed, nice upgrades you could add on there, 110 points, 3 command, 4 squadron, 4 engineering. Now for the firing arc on this, it is black, blue, and red. So you have the best of both worlds here, but to use all these batteries here, you're going to have to be close range. However, with all these upgrades, you have the choice to change that up a little bit. Now second, we have the Imperial 2 class Star Destroyer. Like its predecessor, 11 hull, 2 blue anti-squadron die, which is pretty good, 3 command, 4 squadron, 4 engineering, same as the other. We have our defensive token slots, 3 speed, upgrades again, 120 points. And now talking about the firing arcs, we have all red and blue. So from short to long range, this ship's covered. It's ready to rock and roll. And with the right upgrades, you can add on to this and make it even more deadly. And even in its base form with nothing on it, aiming at a ship, you have potentially 8 hits going at your enemy. So it's super deadly and powerful. And that does it for the ship cards. So now let's take a look at the stand. Now for the stand, just like all the other Armada ships, you get a nice clear acrylic plastic base. Very nice. I already assembled my shield dials and a spin. You also get a piece of cardboard, Imperial 2, Imperial 1. Let's say we go with the Imperial 2 class. And then you also get a stand piece to connect it to the ship. So we're going to take that and plug it into our base like so. Lock it in. Get our ship and match the peg port to the stand. and you're good to go. Now looking at the mold of the Imperial Star Destroyer, it is a magnificent addition to the Armada line. As always, I will point out the main parts of the ship, then zoom in to show off the finer details. Starting off with the top of the ship, on the port and starboard sides, we have our heavy turbo laser turrets. They look pretty good, and that leads us to the superstructure, and that looks fantastic. It really does. A lot of raised sections, and we'll get a closer look at everything in a few seconds. Then we have our command section with our bridge, shield generators, and comms tower. That's that little piece at crossguard right there. Then on the back, we have this area back here. Somewhere in here, I think it's right here, should be the waste dump or garbage chute, wherever you like to call it. And then we have our engines, which is beautifully done. Lots of nice pipes and details and different nodes and modules and recesses. Everything you can think of is in this section, and it is beautiful. Nicely done. Now on the bottom of the vessel, we have our connector port for the stand. We have our reactor, which is done nice. And then in the front of the ship, we have our primary and secondary docking bays. And they are nicely done. And I must say, I may be pointing out the little pieces here and there that everybody is mostly familiar with. But the ship itself, just look at all this stuff. It's not flat anywhere. These are all raised sections here. It is just brilliant. And it actually works. Now it's painted well, and we'll get to that. But the light, the way it hits it, makes all these shadows, and the detail just pops even more. It's fantastic, especially on the top here. Nice raised sections. The superstructure is amazing. Beautiful. So, let's get up close and personal with this bad boy. Now, beginning with our closer look, I must say, one of my favorite sections of the Star Destroyer is this trench that goes down the sides of the ship, and this is amazing, the amount of detail that's in there. We can see some pipes, squares, rectangles, different shapes, and that goes throughout the whole ship, all the way to the back. Now, some Star Destroyers have landing bays in here. I can't make out any. If anything, maybe that right there is a sealed blast door or something, but that's stretching it. But regardless, nicely done here. Fantastic. Now looking at the top of the ship, we have tons of panels, lines, and all these sections you see here are raised. So if you turn it this way, you can see a nice rise in the plastic height. Pretty damn cool. Now, on some Star Destroyers right here, there should be laser cannons and ion cannons, and these little things going here are possibly lasers. That's what they look like. They look like little guns. But in Rogue One, there was giant cannons here, similar to a World War II battleship. But I like it. Came out pretty good. Lots of little details here on the superstructure. Just fantastic. And look at the side view. Very cool. There's our turbo lasers. Each one has about 4 barrels. So that's nice. Going to the back of the ship. Just brilliant. I love how the shadows work with this too. And this section, how it's slanted, the command center. Pretty cool. I wanted to get another shot of the superstructure because there's just so much detail here that I don't think I did it enough justice. Just look at all these tiny windows and modules and squares and layers there. And I'm looking at the top here. Tons of raised areas. Just the amount of detail is extreme. I'm looking at the command section. The bridge is right here. The shield generators look amazing. And it's not just rounded circles. It's just like in Return of the Jedi when they blow up the shield generator. I think it's A-Wings do it. They look just like that, how they have different triangles holding it together. Very nicely done. Especially the bottom. We have all the little stanchions holding it. The comms tower looks amazing. Just a beautiful ship. A nice piece. Even if you don't play the game, this is a nice piece to have on a shelf. Now looking at the engines, we can see an unfathomable amount of detail back here. If not on the engines, then back here in the recesses. Just amazing. We can see some nice rods here. Different paneling. It is amazing. I always love this section here with the angles that curve in. I think they did a great job with that. The engines are nicely done. Just fantastic. And this section here goes about 1.5 inches inward. That's nice. It's a great touch, especially with these sections here. It also curves in, and I'm sorry if this is hard to see. I have a hard time lighting in there. But fantastic. And then on the edges, we have a lot of detail. Just a beautiful ship. Now looking at the bottom of the ship, literally hundreds of little raised rectangles and squares. All these little dots here I'm pointing at, they're all raised a tiny amount. And then on top of that, there are tons and tons of lines and panels. You can see some lines just go across, some make squares, rectangles, and other various shapes. Just amazing when you put that all together. And then we have our various other raised armor sections and panels. And it's just amazing the amount of detail that went into this. Now turning it like so, we can see all those little rectangles are raised just a tad. And then we have our bigger sections which are up more. Especially by the reactor in the back and leading up to the docking bays. The reactor actually has a lot of detail going around here. Pretty sweet. And I must say the docking bay is probably one of my favorite sections on this model. I think they did a great job with the walls, the little command area here. The ceiling has hundreds of little tiny dots, hoses, and pipes. A couple beams. Just very nice. I like that a lot. Now moving on to the front of the ship, we have nice amounts of detail here. I love all these shapes coming down. And all these raised sections. Just fantastic. And they didn't skimp on the second docking bay right here. We have all these lines. 1, 2, 3 raised shapes. This little square here is kind of cool. And then what looks to be a bent hose right there. All in all, one of my favorite ships of all time in my collection. This thing is just a beast. And that does it for the mold of the Imperial Star Destroyer. I think it is an amazing ship, and I hope my review did it some sort of justice. Unless you see this thing in person, you'll never fully understand how awesome it is. So, now let's take a look at the paint. Now, looking at the paint of the Imperial class Star Destroyer, it's what we've come to expect by now from the Imperial faction of the Armada line. We have a nice light gray for the main body, and it is fantastic, very nice, very clean. On top of that, we have a darker gray for just these different panels here and there. And it's nice, it adds a layer of detail to there, especially on the neck and the body. And on the bottom, we can see all these random pieces just colored in darker gray. And then we have blue for the engines, and that came out very nice. And finally, you know what's coming, the wash. Again, beautiful job. Just look at all the detail that pops. Fantastic. I love how Fantasy Flight Games uses their washes. It doesn't cover the detail, it enhances it. And we can see all these lines, all these little details, especially in this section here. The black wash gets in there and enhances everything, makes it so our eyes see the detail. The heavy turbo lasers are all there. Just fantastic. Now for the trench that goes down the sides of the Star Destroyer, that is the same color wash, but it is very thick. I was on the fence if it was paint or wash. But looking right about here at these sections and a couple others, you could tell it is washed, just very heavy. And I like that. Now for the bottom of the ship, the wash enhances all this stuff. Just look at all this detail. My favorite sections on the bottom are definitely the landing bays. I think they did a great job with the paint there. Really makes the mold pop. Now I got a nice close shot. You can see how the wash just fills in all those little crevices. Amazing. And here's that trench I was telling you about. It is wash. And now for the engine section, you can see that the wash is a little heavy back here. Above my thumb, it's almost black underneath the main engine right there. But it's not bad. It is what it is, and it's beautiful. Great. Now looking at the body, we could see all that wash. Beautiful paint job on this. Especially the bridge, the shield generators, the antenna. And the closer we look, the more details I find right here. Tiny little panels painted dark gray. How cool is that? I love these ships because the more you look at them, the more detail or paint you see. Fantastic. There's that trench. Just amazing. And then, of course, here's the bottom again. Nice paint job on those landing bays. Excellent. So that does it for the mold and the paint. A fantastic looking ship. So let's put it on its stand and compare it to some other ships. For comparison with the Armada Imperial Star Destroyer, I have it next to the Armada Home 1, a die-cast TIE Interceptor by Hot Wheels. Over here we have the original Galoo Micro Machines Star Destroyer. And finally, right here, we have the Star Wars Black Series 6-inch General Leia. Great ships, cool figure, and you can see how all these are just dwarfed by the might of the Star Destroyer. And that does it for my review today of the Star Wars Armada Imperial Class Star Destroyer Expansion Pack. Now again, this ship is a tad over 8 inches long, and it was first seen in Episode 4, A New Hope, and then in various other forms, either in a variant type of ship, or a different class altogether. We had one in Rogue One, some in Star Wars Rebels, and then other types in The Empire Strikes Back, and also Return of the Jedi. Now, I've been reviewing ships for over a year now, and out of all my collections and lines, this one is by far probably the best in my entire collection. And I mean that. When you add size and detail and the paint, it is beautiful, and it stands out. Trust me, it does. Now, the reason I say that is because when I do these reviews, I either do it for people that maybe are interested in buying it, or if you're just curious and you're a fan and you want to see what I have and what it looks like. Seeing it on camera is one thing. Seeing it in person is a totally new ball game. And I tried to get up close and I tried to do my best to show all of you how awesome it is. But if you have a Barnes & Noble in your area or someplace that sells these, go have a gander yourself and you'll be blown away by the amount of detail on this bad boy. Having said that, what are the pros and cons? Obviously, the detail, astronomical. The thing is great. Paint, it's the same color scheme we have seen time and time again with the other Imperial class ships, but it works, and I'm okay with it. Now, also looking at this from a game perspective, it comes with a ton of accessories to add to your collection. 18 upgrade cards, 2 ship cards, various tokens, and also the dials. This ship is supposed to be the powerhouse of the Imperial Navy, and Star Wars Armada made it that way. This thing is a nice addition to the collection. Okay guys, so hear me out on this one. Usually, price is on the con. I always say these are overpriced, but this ship was $50. And I think it's actually worth it. I don't think it's bad at all. It's a pro. And I say this because when Armada first came out, if you wanted a CR-90 or a Nebulon B frigate, it costed you like $20 for that little tiny ship. Now here we have this humongous one, and it's $50, and you get all those upgrades and everything. You're paying for a piece of art. That's what it breaks down into. Me personally, I think it's worth it, especially if you're an Imperial player. $50, boom, you got a beautiful looking model and everything you need to run it. Now speaking of all the pricing, if you're looking to buy this ship, you could go to Amazon, miniaturemarket.com, eBay, And if you want to go in person, check your hobby shops, game stores, and also Barnes & Noble. I've been seeing a lot of these in Barnes & Noble, and also X-Wing ships as well. So who do I recommend this ship for? If you're a fan of the Empire, grab it. If you're a fan of Star Destroyers and models and you like to customize, pick this up. I was even tempted to rip this thing in half, because it does have a seam line, but you just can't see it. Rip it in half, take a Dremel, drill some tiny holes in the superstructure and around it, and put fiber optic wires in with an LED, and this thing will look amazing. I just don't have the time right now to do it, but damn, that's such a good idea. And finally, if you play the Imperials, grab this thing. It is a beast on the field, and even though you get 18 upgrade cards, take some cards from other ships and see if they work with it. Mix and match, that's the great thing about Armada. Not only does it bring people together, either by the models or by the game itself, but the customization aspect of it is amazing. It's one of the aspects that drew me to it. You could take something that comes with basically a rebel ship or a different Imperial ship, and if it matches the criteria, you could put it on this bad boy and get, say, missiles or ion cannons or something like that. So the possibilities are endless. So guys, that's basically everything I have to say about this ship today. I hope you enjoyed my review. If you did, hit that like button. And if you would like to see new reviews every Thursday, subscribe. Again, thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye everybody.